What's going on, everyone? It's just after midnight, Central Time, November 8th of 2024, and welcome back. My name is Derek. In today's video, we're going to take a look at a couple of news stories pertaining to the recent federal election, which saw Donald Trump get elected for the second time, becoming the 45th and the 47th president. So we'll discuss a couple of stories, and we'll begin with this one. Trump's first act as the new president-elect was appointing a new chief of staff for the White House. And this appointment comes in the form of Susie Wiles, his campaign manager, who has been in politics for many, many decades, having helped former NFL players in particular. Think about Jack Kemp, a former quarterback in the NFL, who was actually on the vice presidential ticket one year. A little known fact that this guy used to take snaps from under center in the NFL and then was just a couple of steps away from becoming the president. But the reason she's so connected with the National Football League is because Susie Wiles has the maiden name of Summerall. This a result of her being the daughter of famous NFL commentator and former kicker Pat Summerall, the famous partner of John Madden. Summerall died in the year 2013 while Madden passed away back in 2021. So through this, we discover that there's a numeric riddle connected to the National Football League. And shout out to everyone who made it to this live chat. I guess one thing I didn't think about after going live is that I hope nobody's notifications woke them up. And if so, I sincerely apologize. But sometimes you never know when inspiration strikes. So shout out Zenith for one. I guess it'll be interesting to see how many night owls I have of my viewer base as compared to my normal afternoon streams. But anyway, what I wanted to point out, in addition to this NFL riddle, there's also something else I want to talk about, because when you look at her name, Susan Summerall Wiles, it reminded me of the actress Suzanne Summers. And Suzanne, famous from a few sitcoms, particularly Three's Company and Step by Step, her death was something that I decoded on my channel last year. And you can find the link to this video below. And how it was all connected to the 9/11 code, the World Trade Center, the Twin Towers. And this is an odd connection to make when you think about it. But this is how reality works. This is how our mainstream delivers its stories. And as it turns out, there's this connection to Trump. And of course, Trump with all the 119 and 9/11 connections that you could dream of. So naturally, there is also a connection to Suzanne Summers. Now check this out. After her acting career started to slow down, she started to publish work in her beliefs in medicine, particularly anti-aging, as you can imagine. And look at this. The therapy that she focused on in her book the most was called the Wiley Protocol. And I'm like, really, Wiley? We're talking about Susie Wiles, who has Susan Summerall, like Suzanne Summers. I said, this is all very bizarre. So there must be more to this. And we'll look at some connections that bring this all together by the numbers. We start with the number 129. Notice how White House Chief of Staff sums to 129 in the language of Gematria. This also matches the name Susie Wiles in reverse. The name Summerall, also 129. Susie's father, George Allen Summerall, has Gematria of 1290 using the Sumerian method. So a strong 129 connection with this. And consider how the NFL, the organization that Susie is so close to, is an organization with 32 teams. Well, in the alphabetic order, the simplest form of Gematria, the number lettering system I focus on in all my videos, NFL has a value of 32. And when Susie takes the oath on January 20th, along with Trump next year, she will become the 32nd chief of staff for the White House. And when you look at how old her father, Pat, would have been for Trump's second inauguration, 34,589 days. Well, 589 is the Latin gematria of the name Donald Trump. The Latin or Agrippa's key cipher, as I always repeat, I consider to be the most important. And this is very similar to what Suzanne Summers' age would have been for Inauguration Day as well, this same date. Notice how she would have the 586. Well, not only is the 6 an upside-down 9, but in standard gematria, Make America Great Again sums to 586. This is actually a number I'm going to talk about in the second story, because Donald Trump has a strong connection to all of these digits, as we will see. And I have to appreciate that Trump did get reelected, because back in 2020, although I was a bit early, I did say that Trump would be coded for another term. And I guess this was a wrong prediction, because I was talking about it in 2020. But the way I worded this, oddly enough, turned out to be true. But anyways, back to the numbers. So when you measure from the birthdays of Donald Trump, the former and next president, which is such a weird thing to say even, but moving on. Notice how he was born on the 14th day of the month, just like Susie. They were born exactly 131 months apart. Well, what's interesting about that? Well, notice this phrase, hormone replacement therapy, in Gematria, using the reduction method, which is one of the base 4 ciphers of Gematria, certainly the most important methods, along with Latin. Hormone replacement therapy, which is what Suzanne Summers was promoting, has this 131. But also check this out. In Latin, this same phrase equals 1,266. Well, on Inauguration Day, Pat Summerall would have been exactly 1,266 sidereal months, or lunar orbits, old. This is a measurement of the time it takes the moon to orbit the Earth in relation to the stars. Notice how the phrase 666 sums to 1266. And this is cool because the number 12 is 6 plus 6. So it's almost like a quadruple 6 if you really want to stretch it. But there is a deeper 666 riddle to uncover, as we'll see. Measuring between Trump's and his new chief of staff's birthdays also delivers 10 years, 11 months. White House chief of staff sums to 111 in standard reduction, or Pythagorean gematria. Now, in the study of gematria, we also talk about Sumerian, just like I pointed out with this number up here, 666. And it's this cipher, Sumerian, which multiplies the alphabetic order by 6. It's a little late. You knew that was going to come out. But multiplying the alphabetic order by 6 gives you the Sumerian cipher. So anything with 111 gematria in ordinal will sum to 666 in Sumerian. And when you look at the ancient Hebrew letter Vav, it looks like the digit 1, the glyph that we use in English. So this 111 symbolically has the 666, sort of. And I also found it fascinating that White House Chief of Staff equals 1665. So here you have an equation. 1 plus 665 is 666. Now, when Trump was elected, it was on a date with 60 numerology. And when he takes office, it's on a date with 66 numerology. And that date, as has been long discussed now, is exactly 666 months after the first fake moon landing. I mean, just the moon landing. But yeah, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, an organization that adores this 666. But these connections extend further. 666 also has matching gematria with White House Chief of Staff and Chief of Staff, including 1605. Well, there's exactly 16 years and 5 weeks between the births of Pat Summerall and Donald Trump. Summerall was exactly 27 years and 5 days old when his daughter Susie was born. And when you write out 666, you get 1650 and 275 ordinal. So this is an example here of how the ordinal and Sumerian ciphers work together in conjunction, particularly in riddles connected to the number 666. And here you have Suzanne Summers, born on the 16th day of the month. And then Pat Summerall dies on the 16th day of the month. Exactly 66 years and 6 months after Suzanne Summers was born. Remember, Donald Trump loves the 666 symbolism. The name Donald Trump matching reduction gematria with 666. And there's more with Mercury here too, which was significant to John Madden. I hate to get too sidetracked, but don't forget John Madden has the 88. The same 88 as Trump. So it does make me wonder how much time has passed since John Madden died. So exactly 149 weeks before Election Day. And we know how big Skull and Bones was to John Madden, the coach of the Raiders, who have the Skull and Bones emblem. So maybe I'll come back to that later. But in regards to everything pointing to the number 666, this is all a riddle connected to the number of the beast, which equals 47. And in comes Trump to become President 47. So this is a graphic everyone's going to have to get used to seeing. Trump also 470 Latin, and in reduction, President, White House, Government, Republican, Democrat, among others, all 47 in Gematria, Foundation, and Authority, 2 other big ones. Don't forget, it's the verse 4:7 in the book of Revelation that first mentions the 4 beasts. 7, the 4th prime number. So this is the giant riddle, 47. And when you write out 47, it has the same values as Revelation, 149, 121, and 49. So it's all coming together a little bit too well. And once again, the first action of Trump was to appoint a White House Chief of Staff, which has gematria of 470. So the Chief of Staff oversees the executive office. The phrase executive office has matching 1616 gematria with the number 47. And this is where it gets weird. Pat Summerall and Suzanne Summers, born 16 years, 160 days apart. If Trump was born 1 day later, Pat Summerall would have been 16 years, 1 month, and 6 days old. This is a number that's long been connected to Trump, particularly since January 6th, or 1-6. . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 . 1 1 Summerall's full name has a 1600 value in trigonal. And then he dies on the 16th day of the month, which is also the 106th day of the year, exactly 10 years and 6 months before Suzanne Summers. And now his daughter's appointment falls 160 days before the anniversary of his death. So shout out again to Zenith, who's always got the time riddles down pat. There's so much to unpack with the dates of victory, the dates of election, all the way back to 2016 as well. You know, you have him being declared the winner last time on November 9th or 11/9. This year, it's November 6th or 11/6, which is, of course, the upside down 9/11. So, yeah, I might look more at the election, I think, as with any news story that extends for months and months. I tend to just do it once it's all over, but, you know, there was coding for both candidates. But really, you could tell by the way they were running Kamala's campaign, they weren't having her win. It would have been a little bit too far beyond plausibility, I think, at that point. And then this way, they can all say, hey, look, see, the elections are fair, right? Because there was so much doubt last time that now we just have a clean, fair election like normal, and no one's thinking about it again. So it's funny how things play out. In 2020, you had a much different election. Now you just have a lot more different people. But all in all, I'm sure the majority spoke as far as the two characters that were running for office this year. Before I'm done with this story, I just want to touch on a couple more connections. And they tie into this book where Suzanne Summers is promoting the Wiley Protocol. Again, the Wiley Protocol, further connecting her to Susie Wiles. The name Wiles also has matching gematria with Suzanne Summers, 644. Now, the job she'll be holding leads the Executive Office of the President of the United States, which has matching 533 gematria with the word president in standard. Well, when Suzanne Summers released her book, Susie was exactly 50 years and 33 weeks old. And when you run the gematria of the name of that book, Ageless, it matches Wiles, Chief of Staff, and Executive Office of POTUS. So it seems like something that's been going on for many years, all directing Susie to this role as Chief of Staff for Trump administration version 2, which, as a decoder, will certainly be fascinating. All right, next up. On Election Day, November 5th, Donald Trump used his social media network, Truth Social, to announce the death of his friend, billionaire Megadonor Bernard Marcus, who was a co-founder of the Home Depot. And what makes this interesting, to me especially, is that he was the co-founder along with Arthur Blank. Arthur Blank is the owner of the Atlanta Falcons. So if I remember, and I'm up to it, we might dive a little bit into the Atlanta Falcons game this Sunday, because they're playing the New Orleans Saints, which is a curious fact because the Saints are commonly used in conjunction with riddles connected to the Jesuit order. And Arthur Blank, born on the Jesuit anniversary, owner of the Atlanta Falcons, who adorn that Jesuit red. So there's something definitely to be unpacked there. I don't have a pick on it necessarily, but I want to show you what I find interesting. But before we get there, I just want to touch on the numerology of this story because it's all connected to the launch of Truth Social back in the year 2022. This was a company that was actually founded several months earlier. Now, the word president equals 56 in reduction, and this year, Election Day left 56 days on the calendar. In the standard reduction method, the name Bernard Marcus equals 56. Now, in reverse reduction, his name sums to 88, a number very strong with Donald Trump, or Donald J. Trump, who has the 88 and the 888. When Trump's Truth Social first launched back in 2022, it was a span of 8 months and 8 days after Trump's birthday. But not only that, his buddy Bernard Marcus, who gave him millions and millions of dollars over the course of his political career, was 33,888 days old. These two right here on the same date of that launch, both with strong 88 connections. Now, in the reverse order, the word beast also with the 88. When Trump takes office in January, it'll be 8 months and 8 days after Bernard's birthday. The Fibonacci cipher, 808, the sum of billionaire. Now, billionaire also gives us a 245. And the company that Bernard Marcus founded, the Home Depot, if you run this company's age on Inauguration Day, you get exactly 2,450 weeks. Truth Social, 2,450 using square numbers. So a triple 245 there, which often stands out to me, Skull and Bones Society with the 245. I'm not quite sure how significant this number is, but it does pop up from time to time. Interesting also is that Inauguration Day is 1,189 days after Truth Social was first founded in October of 2021. 1189, not only the number of chapters in the King James Bible, but also the Latin Gematria of Donald J. Trump. So we talked a lot about the number 666 as the number of the beast. I mean, with how late it is here in my time zone, I'm almost worried what I'm going to summon if I keep saying that number here. Jeez. But a lot of people actually believe the real number of the beast is 616. That's right. Back in 2005, I believe, there was a manuscript uncovered that secretly claimed the number of the beast was actually 616. So you very often see this number coded into things, and a great example is JFK. JFK equals 616, like the phrase ritual sacrifice. But check this out, the name Bernard Marcus, this guy who dies just before Election Day, his name sums to 616. Now the number 616 is a number synced up with Trump's presidencies. Look at this. President number 45 and 47. The 616th prime number is 4547. Don't forget it was June 16th, or 616, when he launched his first presidential campaign. So as I mentioned earlier, a ton of 47s going on this week. But look at Megadonor. Megadonor sums to 47. And then Trump announces it on Truth Social, 47. And then you look at the name Marcus on its own, and you get the number 404, which is the number of verses in the book of Revelation. Make America Great Again with the 404. And Make America Great Again also with matching values with the Home Depot. And how funny is this, right? The Home Depot, the big orange brand. Donald Trump, the big orange man. Coming back to the White House, his new home. White, the other color on their logo. Come on, guys. I just want to know what they did to keep him alive to 95. Or is this spiritual? Is this some kind of magic voodoo? Some natural matrix playing out? I guess we'll never truly know, but the synchronicities exist regardless of whether or not anyone's pulling the strings. That's what I've come to learn. So now this all went down just before Election Day. And what's the big number both candidates are chasing on Election Day? It's all about the number 270, right? You need 270 electoral votes to win this strange little election that we run, where the popular vote kind of matters, but officially it doesn't at all. But look at this. Trump was born 17 years and 33 days after his buddy Bernard Marcus. And this is the trigonal gematria of Society of Jesus. Trigonal, an important mathematical cipher in the top right of the screen here, which uses associated triangular numbers. So like T, the 20th letter. Well, if you add every number, 1 through 20, you get 210. Notice how 210 is 20 more than 190, right? The one before it. So it's a very logical cipher, and it's actually one of the base 10 methods from ancient Hebrew, along with primes and squares, among others. Whoops. All right. So this 1733, Society of Jesus, right? A number coded with 1733. Well, this is a prime number, the 270th prime number. Now, when Bernard co-founded the Home Depot, he was 270 days after his birthday. And then when he dies on November 4th, it was exactly 27 weeks and 0 days before his birthday. This brings us back to the Jesuit order, who celebrates their anniversary on the 270th day of the year. Their motto, "For the greater glory of God," equals 270. And look at this wild coincidence, which means absolutely nothing, and anyone who assumes it does is insane. The beast equals 270 with capital letters. And this isn't the most popular cipher I use. I do believe it's very relevant. Perhaps it's questionable when a word like "the" is in use and you're capitalizing beast, but food for thought. But what about this? When Bernard Marcus passed away, he was exactly 1181 lunar phases old. This counting a lunation, or the time between new moon to new moon. Well, 1181 is the standard gematria of his business partner, Arthus. I almost said arthritis. Arthur Morris Blank. And there's definitely a big riddle connected to this guy for the NFL game this weekend. His name is 1181. His name is also 881. And if you look at the age of this guy, let's see, who am I talking about here? Bernard Marcus. When the Falcons take the field on Sunday, notice how there's an 881 in Bernard Marcus's age on this date. And that's the other value of Arthur Morris Blank, 881. Right? And when he dies, it's exactly 1181 lunar phases. Now, the coach of the Atlanta Falcons, his name is Raheem Morris. And his last name is Morris, which is the middle name of Arthur Morris. So when I saw this, I started thinking, okay, what's the Beast 666 riddle here, or 47? We're going to see something connected to these numbers for the Falcons, right? Isn't that how these things work? So if you dig up the Falcons record, of course, let me pull this on screen for you. The Falcons have a total of 406 wins, including playoffs. So if they win on Sunday, it'll be 407. And this is all about the Beast, 47. President 47. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, obviously the Falcons have to win, right? The riddle is too strong. Well, this is what the NFL does, though. Look at this. If you look at their number of losses and add them up, you get 520, which means their next loss will be their 521st. And the Beast is 521. So is that a gamble you want to take? Because there's double coding here. Now, again, this is the Saints. So I would naturally assume the Falcons are going to win. And the Falcons are favored by 3.5 on the road, which is pretty significant. So, again, if you like pissing money away, pick one of those teams. I'll dig a little deeper and maybe do a follow-up post if I find anything super solid. So, 270 to win. That's what you're looking for on Election Day. This phrase has matching 156 Gematria with 33. And 33 is incredibly coded into the death of Bernard Marcus. Just look at this. Are we 33 minutes into the stream? Ooh, almost. Anyway. So when you run Donald Trump's age for the Home Depot's founding back in 1978, you get the same digits as Home Depot's age for Election Day, which again was just hours after the Home Depot founder died. But these numbers are not only the same, they're also significant, because the digits 561 give us the 33rd triangular number. And Home Depot was founded on a date with 33 numerology. Trump will become president 3 years and 3 months exactly after the founding of his social network. His buddy Bernard Marcus sums to 137, which is the 33rd prime number, a number connected to the Jesus code and the crucifixion. Bernard's business partner, Art Blank, also 137 and 156, like 33. In the Latin ordinal method, 33 gives us a 148, just like ritual sacrifice. Bernard Marcus would be 1,148 months old for Inauguration Day, which stood out because on Election Day, Donald J. Trump was exactly 1,048 sidereal months old. And in the alphabetic order, Donald J. Trump sums to 148, just like 616. Recall 616, the number we discussed earlier, the Latin value of Bernard Marcus. Now, the number 33 also has the same 3 digits as ritual human sacrifice, Judas, and Jesus. Jesus summing to 985, whereas 33 is 895. Well, earlier I mentioned a lunar phase, right? Measuring from full moon to full moon. Well, 12 of these lunar phases gives us a lunar year. And when Bernard Marcus died, he was exactly 98 lunar years and 5 months old. His business partner, Art Blank, was 985 Earth months old. These are the same digits found in Donald Trump. If you flip them upside down, you get Donald J. Trump, 859 and 568. Make America Great Again, that 586. Marcus's death was also 3 years and 16 days after the founding of Truth Social, and that is, of course, Jesus in Hebrew. John 3:16, telling us when Jesus will return, or that Jesus did return, of course. So that's what it's all about, right? The political crucifixion, prosecution, now the resurrection, and victory for the Jesus of the right, Donald Trump. Oh yeah, the last Falcons coach was named Arthur Smith. That's right. Thank you, Sarah. And now they have the Morris connection with the other guy. It's so funny what they're doing. And when you look at Raheem Morris's age for the game, so the coach of the Falcons has the 176 in his age, with nothing but zeros to trail it. And the 176 is, of course, Donald J. Trump, who's now back in office in a Back to the Future riddle. Back to the Future with that 176. Whenever I see this number, I think it connects to America in the sense that we were founded in 1776. You just have that extra 7 in the middle there. Perhaps it's a stretch, but something I think about nonetheless. Now, I did say I might return to something in my first post. And I think I'm going to take another look at this. Yeah, so I pointed out how there was this sync with John Madden to today's appointment. And just to scale back for anyone who's jumping in late here, today Trump appointed a new chief of staff, who is the daughter of Pat Summerall. And Pat Summerall was the broadcast partner of John Madden, who was the face of the NFL. Now, Madden passed away in 2021, which was less than a year after Tom Brady won his last Super Bowl. And now Tom Brady has bought a stake in the Raiders, which is the team that Madden used to coach. Brady finished his career with the Buccaneers, the other skull and bones team in the NFL. So I'm sure there's more syncs with John Madden to this. Might as well run some numbers here because the important thing with Madden is that he was a Mercury riddle. And just to recap this, I might as well try to dig up a post here because there's so much to understand with Madden. And what I'm noticing lately is that it all really does translate to Tom Brady. Now that Brady's embraced this announcer role in the broadcast booth, he's sort of becoming the new face of the league. And as great as Madden was, you know, Brady has this extra lure of being a 7-time champion. It's kind of outrageous. So, all right, Madden and Mercury. This is what I want to see. I know I have a graphic for it. We talked about this recently in Superstream 86 because a running back named Mercury Morris died. So, of course, this brought me back. Well, anyway. All right, so what you need to do is look at the gematria of the planet Mercury. And it's staggering how synced this is to John Madden. And when you think about Mercury, the Roman god of transportation, financial gain, commerce, but there's a lot of things that connect to Madden, like messages, communication, He would travel from stadium to stadium. Eloquence. Well, maybe not eloquence, but mainly the messaging and communication. And as far as traveling goes, Madden refused to fly on an airplane. He was terrified of flying. And what stood out about that is that the airport in Las Vegas, where Madden's Raiders now play, was renamed Harry Reid International Airport after Nevada Senator Harry Reid, who died on the exact same day as John Madden. What are the odds of this? A man who's afraid of flying synced up with this airport being renamed. So when you think about this date, December 28th, 1228, like Mercury and Standard. Now, Madden would have turned 86 years old 103 days later. Mercury equals 103 in ordinal. And that would have been his 86th birthday, which is the reverse value of Mercury. And his birthday is April 10th, or 410, like 41, the reverse reduction value of Mercury. So it makes me kind of wonder if there's a deeper connection with Madden to the election. Of course, John Madden is 88 years old. Trump with the same 88 as John Madden. But also, in Latin Gematria, John Earl Madden equals 888. And I'd be remiss to say if there was no pi riddle here. 3.14, the first three digits of pi. Well, in ordinal, 3.14 is 224. And this is the 2024 election. And now next year, we get a total lunar eclipse on Pi Day. 314. And it's even in the year 25. And pi equals 25. All right, so I'm well off the rails at this point of the video, but thanks to Zenith for throwing in some good nuggets as always. I didn't know about the Madden documentary. I might have to check that out. Oh, okay, here's another 129. So that's the number I started off my first decode with. Susie Wiles. There's a bunch of 129s here. Well, then you realize she was appointed a span of 129 days before the lunar eclipse. So no doubt that's big. Election day, also 129 days earlier, without the end date included. All right, well, I think I'll probably wrap things up there. I do have a lot more to talk about, so it won't be long before I do another super stream. Really strange story out of Chicago, Illinois, where a Smashing Pumpkins frontman had a car accident at his cafe on Halloween, which is the holiday of pumpkins. So there's a lot of numerology with that. Also, if you picked up on my clue for the Formula One race last week, you would have noticed that I won again. I picked up an 11-1 win for Max Verstappen, who had the drive of his life, came out of 17th place, and ended up winning the race. Just before the Grand Prix started, I let this post go live, which explained how the new Senna miniseries is all synced up with Max Verstappen. And Senna, a Brazilian driver. This was, of course, the Brazilian Grand Prix. Also, Formula One just added a Brazilian driver to the grid for next year for the first time in a while. And it was very, very clear for anyone who was familiar with the numerology that this was all pointing to Max Verstappen. It was just a matter of whether or not he won or he had some sort of dramatic crash or something like that. But it was wild how it all came together. And I certainly do want to touch on that because there was some interesting stuff in the race itself. Like, for instance, after Max won the race, he got on the radio and he said, "You know what that was? It was simply lovely." And then you realize the Grand Prix that he just won was held in rain. And on that same day, Jordan Love played a rain game against the Lions. And earlier this year, Jordan Love played in the first ever NFL game in Brazil. In fact, it was also in Sao Paulo, the same city that held the race. And curiously enough, this was a game I also happened to attend. My brother had an extra ticket, and I got too drunk and went with him. But it was a good time. It's just crazy how fast it went. It was probably something to do with my state of mind. But I barely even remember being there. Like, and we had a blast and everything. I don't even remember being wet or whatever, but just a crap performance all around. Like, I couldn't have attended a worse game for the Packers. But that's okay. You know what was so funny about this is I ended up standing next to someone, and shout out to my fellow Finnish friend if you're out there, but he was telling me that the games were rigged. And I was like, "Oh, I don't know, man." Like, I was kind of playing stupid. And but then I told him about Formula 1. He's like, "Oh, I thought Formula 1 was not corrupted." And I said, "I don't know, man. It might be. You might want to check this out. I've been pretty hot." And I just thought, how weird is it now? What kind of day and age are we living in where two guys who meet each other at a stadium watching this game that they both are pretty sure they know is rigged, yet they're still cheering and making noise and having a good time anyway? It's just like, it's like a modern day WWE feeling, you know, when I go to these games. And I don't go to these games often, you know. I haven't bought a ticket to anything in close to a decade. But the opportunity does arise, and it's hard to turn down, man. I mean, it's a good time. Especially the atmosphere around Lambeau Field, if anyone's ever been to a Packer game. But the love riddle with Max Verstappen goes really deep. His current girlfriend is Kelly Piquet, who is the daughter of a former 3-time F1 champion from Brazil. And Ayrton Senna is also a 3-time F1 champion from Brazil. So again, the riddle was very strong, it was very clear, but then you had these two Alpine drivers on the podium as well, coming out of nowhere. And some interesting numerology with them as well. But this was really all about Max Verstappen and claiming his 62nd win in his 206th race. Like how Senna equals 206. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning into this extended late night insomniac edition of the live stream. Appreciate all the love and support as always, even though I've been a little quiet lately. Figured with all the election hoopla going on, people were more tuned into all that and, you know, didn't necessarily need to see all the numbers immediately. Shout out to everyone else who's been doing a great job. Zenith of the Alpha, of course, in the chat. Lambda115. As always, Decoding with Cody. Shout out to the Illusion who he had on, who had some very kind words for me once again. A lot of people doing good work out there. So thanks again. Peace. Much, much love to everyone, whether you're watching live or archived. Again, likes, shares, subscriptions. I mean, you know how that stuff works. If you want to sport some gear, check out the shop at gematrinator.com, where you'll find our first item, some hoodie action. Hoping to get some coffee mugs up there, too. You know, with my business name being Gematrinator85, did you guys know Wake Up, Coffee, and Caffeine all have Gematria of 85? It's staggering, isn't it? Maybe it is getting late. All right, everyone. Peace, love, God bless. We'll talk to you next time. See ya.